Hello there ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a brand new tutorial on Scum. Today we're going to be updating that redundant tutorial that I made way back in 2020, roughly in September time. This one in particular. It's how to change the puppets, the loot, the sentries and the damage. It's basically everything that you need to change to make the game more enjoyable for you. Now, here's a little thing. This file format that you can see on screen right now, it is completely redundant. This is the wrong file format. The structure of the new file is completely different and we need to fix this. Now, if your file still looks the same as this, your ServerSettings.ini file still looks the same, don't worry about it. We can apply a very quick fix for this and I'm going to just show you how to do it. Okay, similar in style on how to find your ServerSettings.ini file, click your Windows key, %appdata%, hit return. You'll be placed into roaming, click back into app data, click into local, hit S on your keyboard, it's filtered alphabetically, double click on Scum, saved, go to config, Windows no editor, and find your ServerSettings.ini file. Mine's is right here. For those who have still got the outdated file format, right click on it and click delete. Delete your file. Maybe keep a copy of it on your desktop just so you remember what kind of settings that you want to actually play with in single player. After you've done that, minimize your Explorer window, open up Steam, right click on Scum, go to Properties, go to Local Files, and click this button right here, Verify Integrity of Game Files. The game will recognise that ServerSettings.ini is missing. It will then go and fetch that for you. It will then re-download it for you, and it will place it back into the your %app, basically your local file where your Scum settings are. Okay, so once you've done all that, minimize Steam, go back to your Explorer window, and you'll have a fresh new ServerSettings.ini file. This is where we open it up. I'm going to use, as you guessed it, Notepad++, but you can use WordPad for this. Okay, so Notepad++. And here it is. You can see that the overall structure of this file has completely changed. There's a lot more things in here and there's a lot more detailed information about each individual thing as well. For today's tutorial, I'm just going to show you how to do some basic things. You can mimic my ServerSettings.ini if you really want to challenge yourself. This is the server settings that I use for my single player save, the one that you guys all enjoy, the one with the 15 times puppets. This is that file. Okay, let's run through a few things. Max allowed animals in the world, I've set them to 100. Max allowed birds in the world, I've set it to 25. You can set these to whatever, you could set them to 0, to whatever you choose, okay? Max allowed zombies in the world, allowed wild pawns in the world, exterior pawns in the world, and interior pawns in the world. Pawns are puppets. Pawns are puppets, okay? So, max allowed zombies in the world, that should really say pawns, but I'm not going to be pedantic about things. Anyway, 500 at any given time. Wild pawns are basically out in the wilderness, out in the out in the woodlands, out in the snowy biomes, like out in like the kind of tundra areas, devoid of any housing or any sort of structure. Everything's natural, that's where they spawn. Exterior pawns are on the outside of buildings, on the outside of towns, on the outside of these cities and, you know, military POIs and such. Interior pawns refers to the inside of buildings, inside bunkers, inside houses, inside the city, etc. Or the city buildings, sorry. So, set them accordingly to what you want, okay? The next set, which are these ones, which are the interesting ones, which you guys want to change, obviously, is the modifiers for each individual thing. So this is the modifier for the exterior. So there'll be 15 times more puppets on the outside of buildings, 15 times more puppets on the inside of buildings, and 15 times more wild puppets. Ones that spawn out in the trees, out in the tundra, out in the grasslands, etc. That's where my 15 times multipliers come into effect. Now don't worry about these settings right here, these are all set to default. I've not changed these by any means, so I would recommend you kind of stick to the default timing of each one of these settings right here. Lines through 11 through 17, keep them at default, okay? Allow sector respawn, 1 corresponds to yes, 0 corresponds to no. Yes, allow sector respawn. Yes, allow shelter respawn. Squad mate respawn no longer exists. You can leave that as default. You can turn it off if you choose. Hide kill notifications. This is mainly for multiplayer. This is if a player kills another player, it tells you who you killed. Now, this is a doozy. This is a big one right here. Line 22, or 23 in my case. Enable locked loot containers. I'm going to zoom in on this a wee bit. So, enable locked loot containers. Now, this is something that a lot of people don't actually like about Scum, especially if they play single player and they just want to immerse themselves in the world. 1 corresponds to yes, as I said, and 0 corresponds to no. Yes, enable locked loot containers. Locked loot containers are the containers that are locked within police departments, within military POIs, like for example the D4 airbase, or the bunkers and such. You know, the bunkers that you can find in the armories that you can find in the sentry guarded bunkers. This is this, okay? If you want to turn that off, change that to a 0. You will no longer have to lockpick anything. This also works for the loot drops as well, by the way. You won't have to lockpick the loot drops anymore. So if you want to make sure that you don't lockpick anything, or you don't really want to deal with that anymore, set it to 0, okay? So I'm going to set it back to 1 because I enjoy lockpicking. Lock protection damage multiplier. So if you're in the kill box, if you're doing a single player and you're doing a kill box, when you fail to lockpick one of the doors in the kill box, it will zap you. I think it does about 2% damage. So 1 corresponds to about 2%, and then it kind of gets a wee bit tricky after that if you increase this damage rate right here. Now, this little line right here, line 26, I don't actually know what this does. I've not bothered to change this because I don't want to break my game, so I would recommend you leave this alone. Please. Scum Prisoner, body simulation speed 3.84, leave it alone. Okay, Scum weather, start time of day, 8 o'clock in the morning. Time of day speed 3.84, that's just how fast it goes. Nighttime darkness, now you can set this to 0, okay? This is 0.0, okay? What you can do is set this to -1 to make it as dark as possible. Or you can set it to 1. No, that's the other way around. 1 for the darkest, -1 for the least darkest, and 0.0 for default. Okay, let me just correct myself on that. 1 for the darkness. I can't speak today. 1 for the darkest, 0 for default, -1 or -1 for the lightest. Okay? Sunrise time starts at 6 AM, sunset time starts at 9 PM. Pretty simple. Okay, these are the respawn settings, okay? So, random location price, 10 fame points. Sector respawn, 20, 30. Squad no longer exists, so I don't know why that's still in. We're kind of waiting for them to remove that. Random initial time, so that's just how long you have to wait until you get to respawn, essentially. Cooldown time is if you kill yourself over and over and over and over and over again, it will eventually put a random cooldown time on you. I've set these to 0 so I can just spawn anyway. Random cooldown reset multiplier, so this multiplies each time you kill yourself in multiplayer. So if you die once, it lets you spawn in maybe 10 seconds. Second one might be 25 seconds. Third time might be 45 seconds. You never know. It's a weird multiplier. But anyway, going on. Commit suicide initial time, 0 seconds. Commit suicide cooldown time, 60 seconds. Commit suicide cooldown reset multiplier, 0.5. This means that it's got a multiplier of 0.5, so it might add an extra 30 seconds if you commit suicide constantly. Okay? Item spawning. This is fairly straightforward. Spawner probability multiplier, 3. 3 times loot. Examine spawner probability multiplier, 3. 3 times loot. Examiner spawner expiration time multiplier, 1. I can't remember the detail about this line, and I can't remember why I set it to 1. I wish I could tell you, but my brain is completely fried right now trying to remember it. Spawner group expiration time in minutes multiplier, so 3 minutes after 3 minutes, it's got a 3 times multiplier. Take that as you may, okay? Item decay. Right, so item decay is in the game, okay? Over time, your stuff will start to, you know, lose durability if you don't keep on top of it, if you don't keep on, like, using it and repairing it and maintaining it. The multiplier for my single player is 0.5. Food item decay multiplier is set to 1, so if you have, for example, a bit of meat, after hours of playing in game, that might go from 100 to like 95% durability. Something that maybe you should keep in. Don't make it too easy on yourself. I'd recommend just keeping these at 0.5 and 1.0. Okay? Events, you don't have to worry about these. Besides the cargo drop, don't worry about these ones. Worry about these ones. Okay? The cargo drop, fall delay, duration, and self-destruct time. These are set to default for me, but you can actually extend these. So the fall delay is just how long the delay is from getting the notification until it actually falls. The fall duration is 60 seconds, so you need to make 1 minute where it's visible until it hits the ground. After 1200 seconds, it will blow up. Okay? You can increase this. You can increase this to make it a lot easier on yourself. And I would recommend you do that. Okay? Don't fiddle about with these two. Just leave them as default. But just prolong the self-destruct time. Okay? Okay. This is where things get really, really good for you guys who don't like sentries. Scum sentries. Disable sentry spawning. 0 means no, 1 means yes. Set it to 1, you will disable all sentries. Easy, right? Super easy. So much easier than setting it to, you know, -1 and then 1 and 0 and, you know, the old format. This format is basically 0 means no, 1 means yes, and that's binary, and it's so much goddamn easier. So, disable sentries spawning, 1 for yes, 0 for no, okay? So if you want to disable them, put a 1 where my 0 is, okay? Okay, Scum zombies. Oh, the sentry, you guys know what that is. Sentry damage multiplier, it's 3 times the damage. That's quite straightforward. Scum zombies. Zombie damage multiplier is 8. That's just how hard they hit, okay? You can make this 100, you can make this 1, you can make it 0.2, you can make it 0.1, you could make it 0. It's up to yourselves. Disable suicide puppets spawning. Again, 0 means no, 1 means yes. For me, I make sure that they're in the world because it's just fun to make them go boom. Okay? Next one's quite useful for people who want to build in different locations, especially in towns, in the city, and, you know, different POIs and stuff like that. Use map-based building restrictions. Yes. Okay? By default, it's set to yes. Okay? You can set this to no, so you can build anywhere. Absolutely anywhere. Okay? Disable base building. If you don't want to build a base, set this to 1. If you do want to build a base, keep it at 0. Flag takeovers for multiplayer, don't worry about it. Okay, Scum vehicles. This is where things get interesting. Fuel drain from engine multiplier. 1 is default. These are all default. All these values are all default. I would recommend you keep them on default. Okay? Strongly recommend that you keep them on default, please. Okay. The charge is also the same. That's your battery life. Keep it on 1. Keep them all on 1. Keep it as default, okay? Make yourself, you know, comfortable with using the petrol stations and charging your car and stuff like that. Leave them on default. Okay, vehicle spawn groups. Now each one's got airplane, bicycle, cruiser bike, dirt bike, motorbike, pickup truck, quad, sports bike, standing up paddleboard, SUV, tractor, wheelbarrow. Now, if you set it to 4, there'll be a maximum of 4 spawned in the world. Bicycles, 30 spawned in the world. Cruiser, 30 spawned in the world. Basically, you can make these all 100 if you really want to. It'll lag your game, but you can set them all to 100 if you really want to. Max number of days, vehicle inactivity. So after 20 days, real days, like real days. No, not real days. In-game days, I believe it is. Oh god, what is it? I think it's in-game days. Yeah, it's in-game days. After 20 in-game days of inactivity from your vehicle, it will disappear. It will genuinely disappear. Okay? So, If you want to prolong your vehicle's life, set this to maybe like 50, set it to 100. I'm just going to keep it at 20, okay? Kill box, electrical door unlock failure assistance bonus. I'll leave this as default because I like to challenge myself. But if you want to make it easier, you can set this to 1, you can set it to 2, you can go, I think you can go as high as 10, I believe. I can't remember all the specifics, but you can make it easier on yourselves if you want to do the kill box. Scum world settings, don't touch these. Just don't touch them. Don't touch them. Next, periodic replenishment. This is for water, okay? So this is your wells. I leave these on default just because I like to challenge myself. And there's availability of rivers everywhere. You don't really have to worry about it. Gasoline, on the other hand, you can raise these up. I would recommend raising the initial a multiplier, maybe to 2, maybe to 3. Maximum amount of multiplier, maybe raise it to 5. Replenishment interval multiplier, leave it at 1. The replenishment amount multiplier, maybe set it to 2. I leave them on default purely because it's a challenge. I'm playing by the game's defaults, okay? The only things that I've changed in here are some basic vehicle respawns, the start of day, the wild pawn counts, etc. But this is the updated file, and I hope it did help you guys today, because I know a lot of people have been watching that video and have basically been like scratching their head saying, I don't want sentries in my game. I don't like this. I don't like the sentries in the game. I don't like the locked containers. Why have we got locked containers? How do you change that? This is that updated tutorial, and I hope it did help you today, ladies and gentlemen. If it has, tell me in the comments below. If it genuinely has helped you, leave a thumbs up on the video, share it around with your friends that may be playing Scum single player, or if you've got any admins that need help with, like, you know, setting values and stuff like this, give them this video, and they might learn something. It's pretty basic stuff, but sometimes it can be a little bit, you know, confusing. Hopefully this has fixed things, though. I genuinely hope this has fixed things for everybody, because I know a lot of people have been having a lot of stress with dealing this. Right, ladies and gentlemen, last thing I'm going to ask you, if you enjoyed it, if it helped, please consider subscribing, ring the little bell. You'll stay up to date with videos just like this, as well as other Scum videos, Stalker, Mist, and Metro. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, genuinely hope this has helped. If it hasn't, let me know in the comments. I'll try my best to help you out. From myself, and this really awkward ini file in my traders.json file. Aren't you happy that I put it in dark mode? Anyway, from myself, I'll see you all another time.